record the session. So what you're saying is, so we get 2 students.
Yeah.
And, okay, and then we are saying that we will, in the next round, we will ask one more student to join.
Yeah.
So you are saying that this is bigger than the other one.
Yeah, man. And it's smaller and greater. When you have got the 3 students holding hands, the line is bigger. If only 2 students are holding hands, the line is shorter. And greater and smaller can be just.
वो तो क्या done प्रॉब्लम आ रही है ना, इतने लोग गल नहीं ना बननी, तुम फोन करिए चलता है.
Here the concept is actually successor and this thing. So okay.
नीचे की कितना है, एक कुछ
उल्टा हो जाएगा. Okay. Any more ideas from anyone? Simple whole numbers. So this is idea 1. This is idea 2. Any other this thing from anyone?
Sir, whole number includes 0 also.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So we need to also have that one where there is nothing. How do we explain that concept?
Sir, graph formation, we can use 1, 2 in second line, 3 in third line. Students, like that we can form the graph also.
Yeah, okay. So the 0 is not there right now.
Yeah. No, if you
While forming graph, we can use 0 also, sir.
Yeah, but graph is not there right now. So
you can do, Mr. Sujit, one thing can be done. Suppose you have put 5 students standing over there. You take out 1, then 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. All these students are being taken from the line. Then what is left? There is nothing. Then you can give the concept of the 0.
so we are saying take children out.
Yeah, take children. Gradually you take the children, number reduces, and situation comes when if there is nothing, then it is similar to 0. 0 is the number we get when we have got something, and if you reduce the same thing, then the result becomes 0.
So it can be done like this also. If you put box in all these circles.
If I put?
If you put boxes with the circle, one box will be remain vacant.
With box before that, box will also be a shape, no? Then
yeah, yes, that's right. The concept of 0 can be generated only there is nothing. Nothing can be created when you take out everything, whatever was there.
So we start with the larger number, then we keep taking out all the children.
Yes,
so that
yes. And this will give the idea of the subtraction also afterwards.
इसमें सुजीत एक चीज हम ये कर सकते हैं, because some physical activity has also to be inducted in this. So what we can do is say for example, like Mr. R.K. Singh said, there could be a group of students, maybe it is 9 or 10. The children have a fairly good idea about what natural numbers are.
Yeah.
So 2-digit numbers, the lowest 2-digit number is say 10. There is a group of 10 students, and each one of them is asked to basket a ball. If it is a basketball or some other this thing, where they have to achieve something. So if a student is able to basket the ball, he is taken into count. So that way, every student will be given a chance, and the one who is not able to basket it, he is removed from the group. So the number left will be say 9.
Yeah.
And then, again, the repetition is there. So as the number decreases, we'll say these balls, circles aapne banaye hain, these represent the number of students at the initial stage. And gradually, when they have not been able to basket the ball, the number keeps on decreasing. And eventually it comes to 1, and then it becomes that no player is left. So that way it can be done. Or it can be done the reverse way also. The first child is given the chance, he baskets the ball, he is one, so he goes into the circle. Second child comes, he baskets the ball, he goes into this thing. So this would be successor. You had no child in the beginning, so it was empty, it is 0. And gradually when the child starts basketing the ball, he enters the circle and this number keeps on increasing. So that way a physical activity would be added.
Per chance, I'm interfering. Suppose all the students you may make the basket, then the concept of 0 doesn't come over there.
No, I am telling the reverser is also possible. Instead of having the predecessor concept, we can have the successor concept also. Initially, there was no child in the circle. And then the first child, if he is able to basket it, he goes into the circle. If he is not, then he goes at the end of the row or the queue. And then tries his luck. So that way, they'll be getting the chances also.
Yeah, if you go both ways, increasing and decreasing. If you
And
go
then
both
you
ways,
then you can go the reverse way.
then the concept of 0 will be there.
Sujit, so one more activity we can do it. One is we draw a number line, and on that one we'll ask the children to sit in a coco. Each one will be giving a coco, producer will be giving to successor. Like that, it will be continuing. That the last, the pole will be giving a 0. So coco game will also be, they'll be knowing about increasing order.
Okay, this was another thing someone had suggested where children can make teams actually, say 2, 3, or 4 depending on. So here this is more of a physical activity. So here the teacher actually, like what Chavan sir was talking about, that can we make it with physical activity. So here it says, here the game is that you actually have teams. So the teacher actually, you have to make teams. The teacher calls out the number 4. Then children have to quickly, just a musical chair mein karte hain. So children have to go and quickly make number 4. So whosoever is left out is out of the team. So they will end up making different shapes also. This is a pattern making actually with numbers, with 2, 3, 4 and all these things. So a person who cannot make into a team is basically out. And the last 2% actually can win. Here we could, instead of just saying 3 or 4, we could say predecessor of 4 or successor of 5. So instead of saying 6 or 5, you can say predecessor 1 less than 5, 1 more than 5. And all these variations can be there. And depending on that, they use a concept of successor and predecessor, and children actually running around because they have to quickly make teams. Anyone who's not, it's like a musical chair, right? You have lesser number of chairs than the number of this thing. So you will always have a situation where some children will always get. So it's more like a game. And there, instead of 1, 2, 3 for explicit numbers, we say 2 more than, 1 more than, 3 less than, and successor. So this was also one of the ideas which had actually come up. So so that is one idea which had come. The another idea which someone had basically suggested was that you keep adding number of children, so your shape will keep increasing from 0 to 1 to 3, 4, 5, and 6, so on and so forth. So the pattern will also change, where the pattern will change with every successive number or one number less. The pattern will alter, and at some point in time it will also become a circle. So that is one thing which actually came up. Is that yeah? So see, the idea is that we should have different ideas on the same concept of whole numbers. So I think with basic discussion that we had, we got one example of where Sir had actually talked about. Sir, what's your name? I just need to, I'll note it down, who had given this idea. Where we said that we have people standing in lines behind 4, 3, 2, and 1, or the other way around, so that we know that the successors are in the front and the predecessors are behind. So this is one idea which just came up, right? So shall we look at another this thing? So, and which one is a? So we
excuse me, sir. Sir, I have just query.
Yes, sir.
My query is it the playing of a game or making of shape?
Who, sir? Can you identify yourself, sir?
Sir, I'm principal from GNU, Dharpal Sharma.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to know that integrating mathematics with sports. So, are while teaching or while integrating mathematics with sports, should we make the child to play, or here whatsoever the example has been presented over here? Was it related with the playing of game or making of sheets?
Sir, it is about playing. Sir, actually, in that chapter, there are 2-3 concepts which are there. Okay. The first concept is about the predecessor and successor. Okay, so that is one thing. So the one concept is what is a whole number. So 0 needs to be introduced. One concept which is there is predecessor and successor. Then there is one more activity which is there in the chapter is basically about patterns, that you actually have the numbers having pattern. So here when we actually, so we can actually teach all the 3 concepts on the ground, or maybe 1 or 2 out of that. When we take children onto the ground through physical activity and this thing, so it is not really about only making the pattern. The pattern is not automatically is not being done. What is being done is that, like a teacher can actually, let's say, call out saying the number 4. So let's say there are 30 students in a class. So they have to make groups of four students. So they actually run and then you find partners. So this is like a game. You are making groups of 4 or groups of 3 or groups of 5, depending on what the number is being called out. So what happens is there is a physical activity of running and also quickly. So there's a reaction time also, mentally reaction time also, because you have to be making those formations. And you are doing physical activity, you are also making a pattern, and in that process also you can keep increasing, let's say from number 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever. So while the numbers are increasing, the pattern is changing, so they understand the pattern, they are doing physical activity, they are also understanding the concept of both predecessor and successor. You can do variation by saying, let's say 2 more than 3, or you say a predecessor of 7. So instead of saying 8 explicitly, so that you are doing that reinforcement. Is that clear, sir? Or
Okay, sir, it's okay.
Hello.
It's fine. It's fine. Managing the class and managing the students, that will remain another challenge.
So we will-
Especially, it will require the help of another teacher also.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we'll get onto that part, sir. We'll discuss about it also. So it's a good point. So that's why I said that it's actually an activity which actually appears both on the physical education side as well as on the subject side. So some of the substitution period, some periods, whatever you find interesting, some classes you can take on the ground. And the second is if it appears inside the physical education teacher's activity card, he can also do it. So basically, see, he has to do physical activity on the ground, recreation games. If there's a recreation game called Odd Man Out, so this game is called, let's say, Odd Man Out. So I'll just show you. Let me just share that with you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so let me just show you. So as an example, so let's say, so I created a game. It's called Odd Man Out. So in this Odd Man Out, we are introducing the concept of predecessor and substitute. So here we are doing, so this game is also used in Coco, because you are actually, so you have to quickly here and you have to go and touch your partner. So sudden change of direction, you are teaching whole number. So here, this is what we are saying, that when children calls up this thing from 1 to, teacher can call out any number from 1 to 10 or 1 to 20. They have to find partners. So anyone, and they have to go. Children can say, and when they actually make a pattern, the children have to say, what shape did you make? They say square or quadrilateral. Someone could say triangle if it is 3. So they learn the shapes, they learn the this thing, and the variations can be 1 less than 5 to this thing. So the game can continue. This game can also be done by the PE teacher also. It can be done by the subject teacher, it can be done by PE teacher, as long as there is a learning outcome on both sides. Is that clear, sir?
Thank you. Sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, so the idea is that we should be able to do many such activities. Okay. So let's take another chapter. Maybe so here. Let's take an example of understanding elementary shapes. So in understanding elementary shapes, or maybe some other chapter. One second. Let's say we are doing playing basic geometrical shapes. Let's take or basic geometrical shapes we can actually do. So here, or even playing with numbers is also there. Playing with numbers, you can actually. Okay, so let's take an example of playing with numbers. Here, in playing with numbers, you have the concept of factors, you have the concepts of multiples also, prime and composite numbers, common factors and common multiples. These are the ones which are there broadly, HCF, LCM and all that. So the idea is, can we actually do it on the ground? If anyone has any idea, we can discuss, and then this thing we can also do it. So here, the chapter is basically about two marbles in a row, one marble in a row. So this is basically about concept of rows and columns to explain. And I think there's nothing better than sports to actually do that. So any activity that you think where factors, multiples, HCF, LCM can be done. Anyone wants to give any example? Basically, test for divisibility of numbers by 5, by 3, by 2. This is what this chapter is about: divisibility and the multipliers. So we can discuss how it can be done. Any ideas that anyone wants to? We can discuss some ideas if there are. सूर्या, आप कुछ आइडियाज दोगे? Chapter 3, playing with numbers.
No, what I can I interrupt, please?
Yes, sir.
Suppose you want to teach about this tables. The table means the continuous addition of same numbers.
Yes, sir.
Then it becomes a table, multiple. And if you take out the same number gradually, then it becomes a division also. Suppose you have got the pool of 3 plus 3 plus, you have got the 5.
Sir, your
Right.
voice is not very clear, sir.
Okay. What I mean to say, suppose we are talking of the tables. Table means you are adding same numbers continuously. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, then it becomes the table. 3 plus 3, 6. And now you can do, in addition to this, if you withdraw 3 and withdraw 2 times the 3, then it becomes the division also. You take the children in the ground and pull them up 3 plus 3 plus 3 and withdraw them. Then it becomes the division also. Multiplication and division can be just made to learn to students by this game.
Here, sir, we are actually, yes, I mean, here we are talking in terms of factors and multiples. Yes, I mean,
yeah, that will come in that.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, anyone wants to give any suggestion in terms of
Additions and multiplications, ladder can also be used. Any staircases can be used.
Yeah, but here, see, the idea is that here the concept is more around this thing. Here it's about divisibility and multiplication. Staircase is not the right example, but it is about divisibility by numbers.
I think, Sujit, what I can suggest is that when any game is played, normally the scoring is 1 by 1. Right? Like I said, like you basket this thing ball, so you get 1 point as a score. But if we make it in multiples, that every time you score a goal, it will be multiple of 3.
Yeah.
So if he scores 5 goals, so it becomes 15. or any other child is scoring say 7, his score will be 21 instead of just 7. And in the same way, this could be in the reverse order also. Like you have say 100 points and you have to reduce by scoring a goal. So every time you score a goal, the amount reduces by a fixed number. So in how many steps it can be brought down, that can be the count that he has basketed so many balls, and therefore the number has decreased from say 100 to a specific number. So that could be the idea which could be given in terms of say multiples or even as factors. Say a big number is given to them and they are asked in how many minimum this thing you can demolish it by taking steps of how much. So that they have to go for factors of that particular number.
Yeah, any suggestion from the principals and subject coordinators? Someone, any of the subject coordinators? I mean, you have suggestions? Does anyone have any suggestion? Okay. So one more example which was there, which was given out, was basically about 2 examples. One was basically about that if you have 2 sections, 1 and 2, so how will you, what is the biggest possible team size with the same number of students? So how many teams can you make with 18 and this thing? So they can go on the ground and actually do the formation. Similarly, in the mass pass of the morning assembly is that the number of rows and files that they can do. I mean, with different number combinations, we can actually do that. So depending on how many are there, so with the number combination, we can probably also do this thing. Is there any better method which is there? So here, so one, like what sir was talking about, one is that we basically have repeated addition to show the multiples, and we also reduce numbers to show the divisibility.
Yes.
Right. So this is one thing that we said, and sir, you mentioned about reducing the. So what was the idea that you said, sir?
You're asking me?
Yes, sir.
It is like, you give big numbers to 2 teams. One is given say 100, the other is given say 125 or 120 or something like that. And they have to score the goals, and for every score, they have to specify a particular number. So what will be that common number which could, be used as the one, for which the reduction could be there, the diminishing numbers. So say it is 100 and 120. So the 2 teams decide, okay, for every score, we'll have say 5 as a scoring number, right? Or say 10 as a scoring number. So which team will be able to get the, numbers reduced to 0 first? So one by one, they start scoring, and their scores, keep diminishing as per the number of baskets they do. So in how many steps they have come down? So that could be one way of finding out the highest common factor between the 2.
Anyone else who has this thing in terms of how we can do it on the ground? This is a second idea. Like today we are actually, so what you are saying is that for different this thing, all of us can then go back, think about some ideas also. When we go back today and tomorrow when you come back. So, but here today we are just doing some ideation. so that tomorrow when you are back, we have some clean ideas for different lessons.
We have another task also to do, Sujit. That
Yes,
is the
sir.
distribution of
Yes, sir.
work which is to be done.
Yes,
So
sir.
I think
Yes, sir.
even that idea has to be given today itself, so
Right,
that
sir.
we can finalize it tomorrow.
Right, sir. Right, sir. We will do that, sir. Last 30 minutes. Similarly, let us say that there's a chapter called basic geometrical shapes. So here, one idea which had come was, so all of you can actually think of certain things. So see, end of the day, we have to get the teachers to create this thing. But here, one idea which had come was that you take children to the ground, and you ask them to make the court or the ground of the court. So they have the different dimensions which are there: tennis, basketball, and this thing. And then they can actually do the. They also, when they do, they also get to measure the area, perimeter, the length of each of them. So they can actually, with the help of the teacher, they can actually do the measurement of different area. If some field is there, they can actually do the measurement there, or they can do it, they can make the ground marking also. Then there's another one which is on chapter 5, elementary shapes. So maybe some of you can actually discuss about it. Here it is basically from triangle going up to octagon and all that. So here this is the example, same example that we can actually use for both successor and predecessors also, where depending on number of children who can actually keep increasing, the shape will change. The shape will change from a single dot to a line to a triangle, quadrilateral, pentagon, and so on and so forth. So that way, children actually get to understand, and they also can be. And this is again basically has to be command based. It's not that they are actually standing in line, but here the moment there's a command, so children have to go and stand in that shape. So the moment say 5, so anyone who cannot form part of that shape will be out. So that way it is actually forming a game, and slowly they also understand. So you are actually enjoying it on the ground, and slowly you will see that when it becomes a sufficiently large number, let's say 30 children on the ground, they can also imagine that it's more like a circle right now. So that whole fun element in terms of they will also understand. They will start remembering the number 10, 11, 12 in terms of the shape also. So this was one. Then another example is basically about, again, basic geometry. So it's basically about, we can actually do different shapes in terms of the angles, the right angle, acute angle, obtuse, reflex, straight lines. We can actually teach through yoga. Yoga is a great way of actually showing them the entire how to do it. So the different shapes we can actually teach through. You can get them to do different yogas, and along with that, we can actually do that. Similar, the concept of clockwise and anti-clockwise, when you do it on the ground, we can incorporate the concept of fitness and the mathematics concepts also, and both. We can teach them the concept of both clockwise, anti-clockwise, and all of this. Basically, this entire concept can be actually taught. Here, we can actually show the different angles. The concept of integers, any suggestion that you want to have? So there's a concept of integers that can be taught. Anyone wants to? Or maybe why don't we do one thing? We can actually pick up a chapter which anyone wants to do. I mean, in this under sports. Sorry. Let's take an example. Let's say from class 7. Any chapter that anyone thinks can be done. Integer, fraction, data handling, simple equation, triangle. Who are the subject teachers in mathematics here? Any subject teachers, ma'am? Any subject teacher who is there, we can actually do that thing where
No, इसमें तो कोई subject teachers नहीं होंगे, इसमें तो सिर्फ हमारे वो होंगे subject coordinators.
Subject coordinators. So if someone has interest, has maths inclination, so we can actually do that. So these are some of the concepts which are there in class 7th also. Or in fact, many of these things can actually be done on the ground. Just say perimeter and area, we can actually teach it on the ground. So anyway, so just for everyone's this thing. One example is basically class 6 integer. And integer, how do you show integer which is going up and going down, right? So there are anyone wants to say how we can actually introduce a plus number and a minus number? Anyone wants to say, any of the participants? How do you introduce a concept of plus number and a minus number?
You can introduce this way. If you move one step from north to south, it is taken as plus. If you go 5 steps from north to south, it becomes +5. And if you withdraw from south to north, come back to the original point, it becomes a -5. Good. The change of direction, it can be just taken up in consideration, then we can tell about it.
So basically this is a number. So you are saying it's a number line, right?
Yeah, number line you can say that. You go on into reducing towards the left up to 0, or you can go from 0 to 1, 1 to forward.
Right. So so either we say use a staircase, or we say so we say that going from
Here staircase can be just taken up.
so we either we say from where we are from origin
Yeah. Origin towards the right side, then it becomes plus. If you go towards the negative side by withdrawing the plus towards the 0, then it will become, it means same number has been reduced to bring 0.
सुजीत मैं एक सुझाव दूं.
Yes sir.
आप जैसे dog and the bone कर रहे हैं, or a team which is successful in carrying the handkerchief gets 1 point, but the team which is not able to get it will get -2 points. So this way the scoring will be both in positive as well as in negative.
So what you are saying is that you play dog on the bone.
You call out a number or whatever is the number being called out.
Yeah.
So when you call out the number, the scoring will be done as per whether they are successful or not successful. For every success they get 1 point, but for every failure they get -2 points. Or it can be other way around. It can be +2 for being success and -1 for not being success. So this way the two teams will have to keep into account whether they are scoring positive marks, numbers, or negative numbers. And it could also be like this, that the two teams which are standing in the row, the middle child, who is in the center of the row will be 0, and the students who are on either side will be either +1, +2, +3, or -1, -2, -3, or maybe whatever number is to be given. But at equal distances, their numbers will be having positive or negative signs depending upon where they are on the left side or on the right side of the center person. So that when the numbers are called, then the numbers will be called in pairs, which could later give them that.
This is an easier one. So basically, if for every success you get a positive, and for every negative you get a negative point, then you can actually add them up, right?
Add them up and find out that what is. So that will give a concept of addition and subtraction of.
So you learn about addition of integers also, right?
Addition of integers.
Yeah. For everyone's knowledge, actually sports uses only positive integers for scoring, except for golf. Except for golf, they all use positive numbers.
So you can have kind of a score over here also.
Right. So and hence we can actually use recreational games for scoring with positive and this thing. So for every this thing you get a positive game. So you can actually have this game. where we can actually talk about the addition of integers. So it's actually addition and subtraction also.
Yeah.
Negative is also actually
It is there.
subtract. So this is idea number 1. This is idea number 2, which is there, which is about using a staircase. So this is an example. Similarly, you can also use idea number 3 was basically about
Numbering the players with negative and positive points from the center, so that the pairing can be done then of negative and positive numbers.
वो थोड़ा सा difficult है, I think.
But that would give you a clear idea about even the quadrants. जब वो quadrant का उसमें आएगा ना concept graph में. मैथ्स ग्रुप के साथ में सुजीत ये डिस्कस कब करना है तो अपने ग्रुपिंग के बारे में, because then we'll be having science also after that, so at least let us
अभी टाइम है सर, अभी टाइम है, अभी कर लेते हैं, अभी तो अभी है, अभी 3:30 को है ना सर, अभी टाइम है, करते हैं. So अभी science, so these are some examples of mathematics. So let's take some examples of, so mathematics का जो when we get into class 7, here again the positive and negative numbers. So we have taken one example of golf, and similarly fractions and
फोन किया था आपने इसलिए
fractions and decimals का some ideas. सर कुछ किसी साइंस का एक बार कर दें सर.
हाँ, अरे वो 300 रुपए बोल रहा है 1 लॉग बदलने के लिए. हाँ, नहीं नहीं, हाँ, ठीक है, ठीक है.
So साइंस का थोड़ा साइंस का कर लें एक बार. So let's take some example of science.
Are we taking science अभी?
Mathematics and science है ना सर?
अच्छा इकट्ठा है.
हाँ सर.
ठीक है.
ठीक है. तो साइंस का one example was, so we'll take some example of science. Science में we have this concept of fiber to fabric. Where does food come from? Changes around us, separation, body movements, light, shadow, and reflections. This is one example that we are taken. We are discussed in the morning. अभी जैसे ये हो गया motion and measurement of distances. So इसमें what are the types of motion? What are some measurement properly and with proper scale and improper scale, standard measurement के devices use करना है कि नहीं करना है. So distinguishing between rest and motion, and also finding measurement using standard measurement devices. So here you can see your measurement is about how wide is this desk and all that. So this is about measuring with proper tools and also with strings, like this is a non-standard equipment. So ये examples जो है length and width of the classroom के वाले, if you take them to the ground, so what are the things that they can do? So let's take an example कि हम कैसे कर सकते हैं इसको. So here one thing, if there are ideas that you have, we can actually discuss. See here with simple gilli danda, here we can actually, so this is one idea which someone had suggested, was basically subject matter expert suggested that we actually get children to the ground get them to arrange themselves in odd and even form, so that you have one person batting and you have 4 persons in the field. You have, so basically one gilli and one danda. So you can actually, you can do the measurement of the gilli or danda using the arm length and palm length also. Then you can create a circular pit with the arm span, this thing, and then you can actually those shots that they do on this thing, you can actually also check how far did it go. You can actually measure that using standard and non-standard equipment. Let's see if there is a lesson plan which is being done. So as a sample, we have created a lesson plan, measurement using gilli danda. So here, the measurement of length of the object using both scientific and non-scientific method, that is one way of looking at it. Distinguish between rest and motion. So concept of rest and motion, whether it is gilli or the danda or the players. Checking out the process to find the errors using the standard and non-standard. So here you play a game of gilli danda, and there you can actually show the motion in the air and also the position of rest, position of motion, and you can do the measurement using both arm length, palm length, any unscientific instrument, and you can measure the same thing with proper equipment, also measuring tape. Then you can also maintain the distances by the gilli, by the measuring tape, and also by handspan, and you can also convert everything that you did into SI, this thing. So these are the concepts to be explained. Objects at rest, objects in motion. You can do multiple variations onto it, and so that is one example that is there. Then the concept of electricity we discussed in the morning, electricity and circuit. So here in this chapter 7, in chapter 7, science. Here, electric current and its effect. So here we basically have symbols of electric components, heating effect, magnetic effect, electromagnetic. So here in this thing, so we have taken an example of circuit race, which we discussed in the morning, that you actually get children onto the ground and they can actually do relay race. So if there are 8 lanes which are there, you can actually get children to be standing in those things. So the gunshot is like a switch. The speed at which the team reaches is the magnitude of current. The circuit basically will start in a, so it will flow in a anti-clockwise direction. So that's from the point number 8 to back to point number 8. So it's a flow of electricity from A to A, from positive to negative. And the children who are of different compositions like height, weight, can be termed as aluminum and copper. So that can be easily explained. And all the obstacles can be taught as resistors. So this was one chapter. Then things like respiration in organisms. So here you can actually, sir, ये अब बताना चाहेंगे जो हम ये कर रहे थे. So you have the difference between respiration and breathing. So here we are talking about what is the concept of breathing. It's about one inhalation and one exhalation. So here we are actually also showing that when children actually run 100 meters or 200 meters, breathing actually goes up, the rate of breathing. Similarly, we can do any exercise actually, climb or run 400 meters. So we can also show, we can also talk about the aerobic and anaerobic respiration and how the capacity of lungs keep increasing. So these are some of the things which can actually, so respiration in organism can actually be taught on the ground much better than being in the class where you can design an activity with it.
There's one thing which I would like to add here, Sujit.
Yes, sir.
In this, what we need to emphasize upon is that every activity which is being done in the field is not necessarily going to have the learning outcomes of the topic itself. It will also have an impact on his habit formation. Say, for example, this very example where we had inhalation and exhalation, where we were to measure the pulse rate of a child before he's doing exercise and after he's doing some activity. So if this activity is continued for a week or for 15 days, and they record the pulse rates both before and after the exercise for 15 days, it is going to give them a graphical representation of how they have been, how their pulse rate has been fluctuating from day 1 to day 15. So this kind of an activity of recording the pulse rates would help the child in making, in creating the original data of the activity, and also using that data for graphical representation or numerical representation to come to a conclusion. That is, the analysis of the data would also be possible. And this is how we will be able to motivate the child to be more creative, more critical in his analysis, and also the decision of whether he should go for physical activity or not, and a clear understanding of the chapter which he is studying.
All right. Yeah, that you are right, sir. So basically,
But tabular form could be introduced in these, so that data could be used by the physical education teachers also for grading the child, and also by the science teacher or the mathematics teacher to be used in his copy as a practical approach towards teaching of.
Not only this, even a copy of it can be given to the parents to know the child's health.
आवाज नहीं आई सर.
A copy of this, whether it's a graphical or digital or whatever information you are preparing for every child, can be handed over to the parents also, so that they know, they understand the physical standard.
Yes.
Is what.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. That data, individual's data and the collective data of the class. And then variation could be seen, that how it differs with the weight or with the height or with whatever things. So a lot of inferences can be drawn.
Lot of guidelines will be maintained this way for a child.
Yes, definitely.
right, sir. So we'll take a few, 2-3 more examples. So let's say in class 8th, there's a topic called microorganism, friend and foe. So here we basically can have 2 different teams.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, we can also explain that mode of transfer of heat, especially convection, with the help of the relay race.
Sir, just 1 second, sir. Which chapter? Let us do one thing. So now that you are saying which subject, which chapter, sir, which class?
Transfer of heat.
Class 8.
7th class, heat.
Okay, 1 second, sir.
4th lesson.
Okay, 1 second, sir. Which one, sir?
4th lesson, heat.
Heat. Okay. So great, sir. So let's discuss this. I think this is good. This is good. So let's do one thing. I'm just creating a. Give me a minute. Class
7th.
Right. Sir. Okay. Class chapter number
4.
Okay, sir. हाँ सर, ये बताइए सर, एग्जाम्पल बताइए chapter 4 heat. How do we do it on the ground, sir? So same thing you are saying, same example.
Learning objectives.
सर इसमें हम क्या सीख रहे हैं सर? Hello. Hello, sir. So what are we learning here? Hello. अच्छा, cut हो गया.
Sir, can I say something?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, this concept is actually transfer of heat. So here we want to introduce conduction, convection, and radiation.
Conduction, convection, and radiation.
Radiation.
Yes, ma'am.
So here what we can do is we can take the whole class outside and the teacher can hold the ball, and the way the teacher transfers the ball to the children will be the way in which heat travels. For example,
Yeah.
in the case of conduction,
Hmm.
either the children are lined up or in whichever shape or form they are sitting, the teacher can give the ball to one person. That person will again transfer the ball to the next person. So one by one, the transfer of the ball will take place, which is actually how conduction takes place.
Okay.
And for the second mode of transmission, that is convection, the teacher will be holding the ball. Every child will leave his or her own position, come to the teacher, take the ball and go back. And we can give some examples, like in a test tube, if you boil water, heat is taken by the molecules which are near to the source of heat. They become light and they travel up. So they leave the position. Whereas in the first case, they were not leaving their position, they were only transferring. And in the third case, that is radiation, teacher can throw the ball to one of the child, get it back, again throw the ball to the other child and again get it back. So neither the source nor the recipients, none of them are leaving the position, but they are receiving the energy. That is radiation, like solar radiation. Neither sun is leaving the position nor the earth, but they are receiving the solar radiations. And then a game can be set up, and the teacher may blow a whistle and say, now transfer the ball using conduction, now transfer the ball using radiation. So the children should know that what should be the mode of transfer to specifically follow the instruction.
I think this is a good thing. Only thing that we probably have to do a little bit of a role play, saying that who is the son. So the teacher is the son.
Yeah, teacher is the son.
So when we actually make it like a game where we need to actually create this thing, so the teacher may not be there, whosoever. So basically, it's a
any monitor can also be there. Anybody can be there.
Yeah.
The sports teacher can be there.
So the teacher is equal to sun, right? So and children are what? Children are planets.
But they can be objects. They can be planets. Anything.
Oh, yeah, so we need to actually gamify it a little bit, saying that.
So we should not choose planets. We will not expect the planet to leave the position. So planet and sun would not be very appropriate to correlate.
Teacher may be the source of the heat.
Yes. Maybe the source of heat, correct.
Heat and children may be the receiver.
Yes.
Yeah, sir, actually इसको थोड़ा gamify करना पड़ेगा, तो game के तरह बनेगा तो फिर इसको कुछ ना कुछ ये करना पड़ेगा. We cannot say source of heat. We have to give it something.
Actually, by this time we were talking of that as a teaching aid, not the game. It was not game oriented. It was like a teaching aid.
So
sir, may I interfere, sir? Sir, इसमें excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
सर राज सिंह सर नैनीताल से सर इसमें हम एक्चुअली टीचर को सोर्स ऑफ एनर्जी ना मान के बॉल को माने बॉल का जो है वो कहाँ पर है इस समय पर हीट या जो भी फॉर्म ऑफ एनर्जी कह रहे हैं हम मतलब उस बॉल के ट्रांसफर से हम इंडिकेट कर रहे हैं कि वंस दे आर इन कांटेक्ट इट इज ट्रांसफर्ड.
So ball is basically sir. Ball is a medium.
Ball है अपने.
Sir, ball is equal to heat.
Actually, ball is a heat.
Ball is the heat particle. Heat particle is the ball.
and teacher is the source of heat.
The source
Source
of
of
heat.
energy.
No, sir. Just the transfer of the ball is establishing a whole concept. Whenever
No,
this
no,
ball
no, no.
is transferred to some
Nahin. Actually, heat is coming from where? Actually, someone should be the source, na? A teacher should be the source of heat, and ball.
The source of heat को हम कुछ उसको definite नाम दे दें तो better रहेगा. I think if you give it a name.
तो वो source of heat थोड़े खुद भागेगा.
हाँ. Source of heat नहीं भागेगा. Source of heat
Source of
भागेगा.
heat should not run.
So the
Sir, can
ball
we
is
intervene?
transferred.
Yes,
Sir, ma'am.
हाँ. Sir, अगर इसको हम ज़्यादा sports से link करना चाहते हैं, so what we can do in a class, we make a line of 10 students, and in case you want to show conduction, the first child has got a ball. Very quickly, he will pass it to the other. Very quickly to the third one, and then the referee will note down the time. How much time did they take to pass ball from first child to 20th? So in this way, different lines will be there, and then we will declare the team which has come first in case of conduction. But they have to stand in a line and they have to pass the ball, and the ball should not fall in between. Otherwise, they will be out of there. Conduction we can do in that way, in a line. Children will. For conviction, first child. Sorry, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
In case of conviction, first child is taking the ball. He will run. He will go till 10th child, and 10th will go to the first. In this way, the circle will keep on going. Is this conviction is like that? Hottest particle will go to the upper surface, to the coolest part, and coolest particle will go to the hottest part, lower down, bottom to top, top to bottom. So in this way, the one which is heated will go to the 10th, and 10th which is cool will come to the first. Again, referee will note the time for all the activities. In case of conviction, what we can do, that the first child will simply throw the ball to the 10th, and whether he is able to catch it or not, and then this way we will show the conviction. But in every case, we have to note down the time.
I think this is wonderfully said. मैडम बहुत अच्छा आपने कहा है. एक चीज मैं इसमें थोड़ा और ऐड करना चाहता हूँ कि you could have 2 teams, and those 2 teams, what will be there that जो fast करेगा, he will be a better conductor of heat.
हाँ, तो वो better conductor, जिसमें जल्दी time कम लगेगा.
Time कम, तो जो time कम लगेगा, he is a better conductor of heat. That means he is the winner.
And the ball should not fall in between.
And the ball should not fall. Yes. So this becomes a game also.
It will become a game because we have to relate to games, na? Otherwise, it will be simply classroom activity.
Yes.
And students should be brought into the play field, not inside the classroom.
Of course, in the field, they will go in the field.
In the field also.
Our aim is to take them out in the field.
सर मैम वो पहले वाला भी उन्होंने फील्ड का ही बोला था वो.
हाँ, वो भी अच्छा है. वो एक्चुअली इसी का ही एक्सटेंशन हो गया. It has been modified. Idea उनका ही है. And the idea has been modified and come to this particular stage, that it can be converted into a recreational game also, where the children would be competing with each other this thing also. So that means that would activate their physical activity also. Their competitive this thing will be there, and the sense that it should not drop. That means it should be carried from one molecule to the other molecule. I think this has come out to be a very nice.
मैम ये एक्चुअली ये जो हम गेम खेलते भी हैं कि हम नीचे बैठ के खेलते हैं, रुमाल को क्विकली पास ऑन करते हैं टू द नेक्स्ट पर्सन. ये जो रुमाल पास खेलते हैं. श्रीनिवास राव सर, प्लीज म्यूट इफ यू आर नॉट पार्टिसिपेटिंग. थैंक यू.
Here, teacher, sir, ये teacher should be the source of heat. You should write here.
It could be that way also, sir. और जैसे नहीं तो वॉलीबॉल में या उसमें जैसे हम लोग वो करते हैं ना, स्टार्ट करते हैं, पुश करता है, that could be the source of it. Any initial force could be this thing. So
any either source of it, either the student or the teacher.
Yes, the initial ball has to be thrown. They have to catch it and then they'll have to.
The person who
जैसे सर्विस करते हैं,
a person who initiates the game.
हाँ टू इनिशिएट हिम, जैसे सर्विस करते हैं हम लोग वॉलीबॉल में, उसमें जैसे सर्विस करते हैं वैसे वो स्टार्ट करते हैं।
सर एक्चुअली हमारे स्पोर्ट फिटनेस में एक होता है हेक्सागन सर्किट, ठीक है। हेक्सागन सर्किट में इस तरीके से करते हैं, मैं आपको दिखाता हूँ। हेक्सागन पासिंग में इस तरीके से करते हैं, विच इज बेसिकली
सब तो होना तो चाहिए ना।
I'll show it to you. So, नीचे से बाहर फिर अंदर बाहर ना हेक्सागन की फॉर्म में करते हैं, अभी देखते हैं। Anyway, तो ठीक है। So basically दो तरीके के आइडियाज हैं, this can be developed further, right? It's a very
लेकिन
good
इसमें सर इसमें एक बात होनी चाहिए, इससे पहले कि बच्चे फील्ड में जाए, क्लास में टीचर उनको कंडक्शन करके दिखाए, बॉइलिंग ऑफ वाटर करके दिखाए, तभी उनको लेकर जाए और फिर मतलब दिस विल बी मोर दिस थिंग इफेक्टिव।
Yes, ma'am. मान लीजिए इसमें ठीक है, मान लीजिए सीधा मोटा मोटा ये कि लेकिन दो आइडियाज आ गए इसमें, two different kinds of ideas that can be done, right? So this is great. I mean, ये अगर हम जैसे डिस्कस करते हैं, of course, see, actually we are not going to develop it now, so we can develop it, we can think about
And
it
later on, whenever we find time.
Yeah, tomorrow when you do that thing, so we will develop.
Right.
We'll take.
I'm just adding one thing. In case while you are going to teach about the convection, where the particle will get heated becomes lighter and goes up. So what we can do that we can put in a staircase. The child sitting on every step. The lowest one gets heated and he goes and takes the ball to the top, and the top guy will be actually what is happening. The first step gets heated and the next to it becomes heavier and takes the place of this, not the upper one. Actually, the molecule which is nearer to the heated
ना ये स्वैप करने में भी तो बहुत श्योर है, एक स्वैप करने में जरूर चलता है।
आज सर और मैम जिन्होंने आइडिया 1 और 2 दिए थे, आई एम जस्ट राइटिंग डाउन सो दैट बोथ ऑफ यू कैन एक्चुअली
We can sit together and then we can.
Yeah, मैम आप क्या नाम जरा बता दीजिए so that you can develop that. I'm not able to see, so that's why because I'm actually on the screen. I can't. Can you just?
Myself.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Usha.
Sure, ma'am.
Usha Nandita.
Okay, so and idea 1, ma'am, किसने दिया था और वो देवेंद्र सर ने?
But I have given 2, second idea, not first.
देवेंद्र कुमार सिंह।
नहीं, आइडिया 1 में भी कौन दे रहे थे? मैं एक बार स्क्रीन
मीटिंग वगैरह में ना मुझे बोलने के लिए बहुत शौक है, मतलब बहुत कम बोलता है, लेकिन ये तो बहुत है कलेक्टिव।
Sir, idea 1 given by Medha ma'am.
देवेंद्र कुमार सिंह।
And और भी देवेंद्र सर।
हाँ।
I think now we should take up the other aspect also.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First, this is just to give you 1-2 minutes. I'm just spending so that इस तरीके से बहुत सारे जैसे माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिज्म है, फ्रेंड्स एंड फो, you can basically have 2 kind of teams. One team which is one is a friendly one, the other one is a disease, दूसरा वो जो माइक्रोब है फ्रेंडली है कि नहीं है उसके हिसाब से वो उसको कैच कर सकते हैं. We can actually develop that thing. Similarly, idea around वो चीटी so these are some of the things we can actually develop. Other ideas also, there are other things. The idea was to give you a broad sense in terms of what is to be done. So what I will also want to do, very important, is that when we meet tomorrow,
बनाने के लिए कुछ नहीं बोला अभी तक सुना है।
So मैं आपको जितने अभी कुछ चीजें किया था, I would suggest that all of you maybe try and develop one lesson plan at your end. Think about it. We can discuss tomorrow. ब्रॉडली इस प्लेटफॉर्म में जाके आप उसको आइडिया को ऐड भी कर सकते हैं, चैप्टर वाइज देखिए और वहां जाके ऐड कर सकते हैं nep.go4fit.in में. चौहान सर, यू वांट टू डिस्कस अबाउट इट? आप जरा बताएंगे.
नहीं अभी डिस्कस करना पड़ेगा बिकॉज़ डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन नहीं हो पाएगा नहीं तो.
हाँ सर, मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ. आप बताइए ना, अभी हमारे पास 20-22 मिनट है सर.
Maybe extended also.
Can I just ask everyone to mute, please?
Yeah.
Those who are not talking, kindly mute.
Hello.
जो बात नहीं कर रहे हैं, प्लीज काइंडली म्यूट.
थोड़ा सा लेट अस फोकस पहले साइंस वाले ग्रुप को ही ले लेते हैं बिकॉज़ साइंस का कंटिन्यूएशन हो रहा था. How the distribution of the work is to be done. My request to the assistant commissioners who are the regional coordinators also कि आप लोगों को भी इसमें थोड़ा सा actively participate करना पड़ेगा. The thing is that when we'll be having these workshops on 22nd and 23rd and 27th and 28th, we have to be very clear and about the distribution of the work. That is the task which is to be given to the teachers so that they know exactly what they are to do and on which chapters they have to focus. So what we need to do here is that we have to draw a strategy that how the distribution would be done. Say for example, we have got 8 regions, and of these 8 regions, we need to either distribute the work as per the classes. That is, we give 2 regions 1 class, and the remaining 2 regions would do something else. Alternatively, what we can do is we calculate the total number of chapters which are there in science. Say, for example, in science, we have about, 37 chapters, approximately. This is the same calculation, which we can actually do it, of which major portion is from biology, that is 17 chapters, followed by physics, that is about 12 chapters, and then by chemistry, which is about 8 chapters. So either we do that, we distribute biology amongst 3 regions, physics amongst 3 regions, and